Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of y'all and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest heart, the blackest mind, the blackest man on social media, signing black in and shining again. Asking me to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So here's the deal, y'all. All right. This is part 2. You saw the title. I'm going to get straight to the bombshell. I said that there was a particular solution for black folk and it's comprehensive. And it is lifestyle changing. It's beyond a religion, it's a way of life. Not everybody agrees, but I did say that I'm going to give bits of evidence from time to time to support my thesis. That's fair. That's what I should do, right? After all, I made the claim. Why should I not make the case and support it? It's unfair to you if I make the claim and I don't, unless I tell you where you can find out. And in my case, I'm willing to do both. So here goes. First, let's take a look at what this has to do with, what does Islam have to do with don't approach her, don't validate her, give them nothing? Shout out to Joseph Milliken for don't approach her and Lion of MGTOW for give them nothing. Hashtag GTN. Okay. Male chastity is the connection between them. Where do you think I got this idea from? See, male chastity is half the equation. And it's okay for us to look at women and say, yeah, you got these high body counts, you ain't chaste, yeah, that's fine. But male chastity is there for a reason too. It is not something you do because you let them force you into it though. You don't let them force you into celibacy. What you do is you take control. You say, you know what? I know my triggers. And for many of us, we men are visual. Women are visual too. But we men are known to be visual. Most of you think, well, black mind biology is the reason we can't do that. And in fact, the real reason it has to do with a lot of the triggers. It's visual. You live in societies that visually trigger you. And that's why. And what you learn to do is you're already desensitized to a certain extent. In the West, weaponize that. Just look away from these triggers from here on out. The visual cues or the visual stimuli, look away from them. Since you're desensitized, you will find that your libido is more controllable. And that's in addition to fasting, whatever else it takes. That's how you change the game. Women are visual too, but they're just more conceited, more arrogant. They don't want to admit it. And they also have auditory stimuli. They're just more complicated, but they're visual. Now we got that out the way. You take the chastity, you use it for yourself. The way that the ladies have used fake chastity for themselves. If you were going to make an approach, there's one way to do it, and that is the Muslim way. Now, the Muslim way is you may talk to her, but you ask her if you can get in touch with her and her dad. If he ain't around and he's dead, her and her granddad or uncle or older brother. That's how it works. She knows what that means if she's Muslim. Now, let's say you ain't Muslim, but you want to try this out. Okay? Let's say that that's what you want to do. Then you try this with a woman that is a practicing Christian or Jewish woman. That's how you do it. Listen, can I get in touch with you and your dad? She should know what that means. Me and my dad, And if she doesn't, she looks at you like you strange. You just grew another head. Don't worry about that. You look at her like she grew another head for not knowing what you're talking about. And say, well, how did you think this was supposed to work? Do you think that I want to sit up here and take you out by yourself and you have to sneak away from your parents? No, that's not the way I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do this the right way. Now, I'd like to know what your type is, what you're looking for. But, which is your right to have one of the male relatives in your family overlook the man that's talking about your hand. Now, if she's going to sit up and say, wait a minute, you're approaching me and your approach is not about a date but marriage, then you look at her and say, well, don't worry about it. If that's the problem, ma'am, you're about something else. That's all right. It's up to you. It's between you and God, but that's what you want. Just be safe out there and you walk off. And that's the end of it. Because believe you me, if you're willing to do this, the word's going to get around eventually that other men can do the same thing. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that this is the way to make an approach if you're going to do it at all. Because when you're making the approach in the Western context in which you all live, the understanding is that you're approaching them for fornication. They hold all the cards in that case, all of them. And that's why we're seeing what we see. They hold all the cards and they've never had to grow up. They done already got the cards in hand before they done had to grow up and mature. What you think they're gonna do with them? They're gonna do what kids do when they holding all the cards. Because they kids, psychologically speaking. I mean, you think about it. You look around as a grown man, you look around, all you gotta do is say, I want her to be mature for her age. I want her to have a grown-up's mind, even when it comes to me, when it comes to men. And you will eliminate just about every last one of them if that's the case, especially the good-looking ones. And this is the reason why. Going about these approaches in the non-Muslim context, trying to date and fornicate, puts them holding the cards. You wind up spending the gold and you don't even get up in them folds. And that's what they want. Meanwhile, we already know the guy that's getting in them guts doesn't have to come out them bucks. We understand that. For most of us, getting nothing in exchange, especially below the belt, is expensive. And for the few, it's free. We know that analogy of the candy store. You walk in, you're supposed to pay top notch for crap candy. And that shop owners turn around giving the best candy for free to a few dudes that they just went ahead and let in. That's what it's like. Y'all know that. So what I'm saying to you is, one of the ways you flip this, in order for men to get their power back, men gonna have to be on code, and it can be done. But the thing is, many of you don't understand. You think, well, we're not on code because we don't have a code. No, a code exists. There is a code on which we can get. It's already there. We don't have to come up with another code because we ain't gonna never agree. But if you get on that code, you will not be like the Muslim that has been bragging about being a prolific womanizer, selling courses on how to successfully womanize while admitting that he's a Muslim, and then wind up humiliated like what he's going through right now. There's a Muslim. He's half of a podcast and he's going through it right now. His non-Muslim partner on the podcast is not going through it so much. People are looking at him and saying, man, why do you even stick around for this stuff? Look what this dude is doing. Even a guy that broke into their studio while they were live, or while they were about to be live, said to him, yo, man, you better than this. And then turned to the one with whom he had the beef, the one that's going through the brunt of the humiliation right now, and started dissing him, humiliating him in his own camera. That man even said, well, come kick me out. I'm in your place. Come kick me out. See, now you know who I'm talking about. Now, if I had that man's muscles, I wouldn't be physically challenging people that were smaller than me like that, because that would be a bad look for me. But considering there are enough other people who can say, yeah, this dude's slimy, grimy, and dirty, I can see why somebody would be enraged. I can get it. Because in all honesty, even though this man has identified himself as a Muslim, I can tell you, he done shown, he done confessed how he's going off the instructions. He done got off code. The code on which we're supposed to be, he done got off of that code. And that was his mistake. And you see Allah humiliating him for that right now. Do you think that the same deity that's humiliating him for going off the code publicly at that would turn around and not reward you for getting on it? Do you see where I'm going with this? Don't take my word for it. Before I go, I'll leave you with this. Because this is the bombshell. Our approach is the only one that does not result in men being humiliated. Because if the woman says no and she decides to go around bragging about how she told that man get up off of it, her own dad and her own brothers might sit up and say, oh, you arrogant, huh? You ain't have to marry this man. He ain't your type. But you arrogant, huh? That's not something they can brag about too much. Not in that market. Eventually, some lady's going to sit up and say, you just keep turning men down for marriage. Well, who are you waiting for? Are you into other women? That's what's going to happen. Because, see, that's marriage. Now, when it comes to just run-of-the-mill fornication, women can brag about how many men they turn down for dates and fornication and all that other stuff. But they look stupid sitting up here bragging about how many men they turn down for marriage. Past a certain point, they could brag to one or two friends about 2 men they turned down. That's about it. After a while, their friends would start to say, you stupid as F. They definitely can't publicize that sort of thing. So our approach is the one that works. If you're going to make an approach, use this one. Otherwise, or even then, until you get that marriage contract, don't spend no gold. Give him nothing. Shout out to LOM. Don't validate her. Don't approach her. Shout out to Joseph Milligan. And here's another thing. I'm going to give a shout out to MOT. He may, I may be a disappointment to him. I may not. I'm not sure. But a shout out to him for a valid point that he done made. It doesn't matter if they Muslim. Matter of fact, especially if they Muslim, don't listen to these dating roaches and pull-up artists. Make them show the results, because right now, some bad results done already jumped out and humiliated the hell out of one of them that has identified himself as a Muslim. Bad look. Bad look. He actually set up and proved my point. Inadvertently, he did it. Thank you for listening. Black All Black Mind, Blackout. Assalamu alaikum. Black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.